Good, happy Thursday morning, September 17, 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Thursday morning, so let's begin. First up, we begin with your COVID-19 update. There are 33 new cases, 1 new hospitalization from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. No new deaths announced Wednesday. Tracking COVID-19, New Hampshire DHHS. Let's take a look at that. And here is a look at that information for all of you. There are 259 current cases of COVID-19, 7,780 total cases of COVID-19, 438 deaths, 6%, and 723 hospitalizations, 9%. And that is a look at the tracking of COVID-19 right here in New Hampshire. Now let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 information and data for New Hampshire. And here is a look at that information for all of you. There are 7,780 number of people in New Hampshire have tested positive for COVID-19. 6,621,523 number of people in the United States have tested positive. 438 number of deaths from COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 723 number of people have been hospitalized with COVID-19 in New Hampshire. 485 number of deaths from COVID-19 in the United States. And now let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where current cases of COVID-19 are. 32. And let's take a look at this map of New Hampshire where total cases of COVID-19 are. 204. And now let's take a look at these 3 charts here. Let's start with the first chart here. New cases each day in New Hampshire. In the purple, daily new positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, new hospitalizations. And in the red are the deaths. Now let's take a look at this chart here. Current cases. In the purple, total current COVID-19 cases. And in the orange, total current hospitalizations. And let's take a look at this chart here. Total cases. In the purple, total positive COVID-19 cases. In the orange, total hospitalizations. Red, deaths, and blue recovered. And now let's take a look at this chart here. Age group of cases. Female and male of cases. And risk information. And let's take a look at this chart here. Infections, hospitalizations, and deaths. And let's take a look at this chart here. Deaths, percent of New Hampshire population, race/ethnicity of cases, and hospitalizations. And a reminder, your common symptoms: fever, lack of smell, cough, difficult breathing, chills, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. How it spreads, and prevention tips. And be sure to stay with the Riley King Network for the latest of your COVID-19 information. AG's office investigates several possible violations of COVID-19 orders. Officials say they aim to educate rather than punish. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Gene Mackin.
since 1955, when great-grandfather Curly and our grandfather George decided to sell tractors out of their barn with a work ethic geared toward.
The Attorney General's office confirms it is looking into a youth hockey camp held at Conway Arena in Nashua in August, linked to a cluster of cases. 4 staffers and 8 children tested positive for COVID-19. 3 of the children from the Bedford School District. Investigators are looking into safety protocols and team travel. The state has received more than 200 complaints about various businesses or events, leading to 12 investigations so far.
We receive concerns from citizens, we receive concerns from businesses and different organizations. Sometimes we hear from parents, and we also find information on websites and things like that.
Depending on the location or activity, the governor's emergency order lists rules on face coverings, out-of-state travel, group gatherings, distancing, and disinfecting. The Attorney General's office can issue written warnings or fines, like in the first civil penalty levied this week against Massachusetts-based New England Flag Football, fined $2,000 after holding a tournament at the Seacoast United Sports Complex in Epping, welcoming teams from Ohio, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Investigators say they prefer to provide education.
And what we do is we follow up with the organizations to check in to see what's going on, and we go through the guidance and provide education to them on how they should comply with the governor's emergency order.
Jean Mackin, WMUR, News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Long-term care residents going home for holidays face increased COVID-19 risks. Health officials say residents advised to quarantine for 14 days after visiting family. Let's take a listen to that video for WMUR News 9, Jessica Moran.
In times like these, we're all spending more time with family and more time working our land. Visit ymahindra.com.
I think there's any way to get around the fact that these are high-risk visits.
With the holiday season fast approaching, long-term care providers are anticipating how to handle residents going to family gatherings. Under Phase 3, non-medical trips are permitted based on risk of activities. The state's Department of Health and Human Services says a number of factors make these visits high risk, and quarantining upon return is the best option.
Hugging, touching, closed spaces. Family members probably have traveled from elsewhere. I can imagine it's going to be a big burden for us all, but there's no way around that the safest approach here is to quarantine on return.
And that quarantine is recommended even if the resident tests negative for COVID-19.
You can't test out of quarantine because you might come down with contagious active disease on day 13 and a half, even if your test was negative at day 7.
Providers are also wondering when is the best time to administer the flu shot to residents. DHHS says even though the flu has not yet been reported in the state, now is the time to get the vaccination.
We are preparing for flu to be co-circulating with COVID-19, and that certainly increases the imports of people getting the flu vaccine. And again, the recommendation is at latest by the end of October.
DHHS says you can still get the flu vaccine after October if needed. Another provider asked about expanding communal dining and activities. State health officials did not have a timetable for that right now. In Manchester, Jessica Moran, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Second cluster of COVID-19 cases announced at the University of New Hampshire. 20 cases reported. Cases center on campus apartment complex. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
strict attention to detail. That's what sets Kubota construction equipment apart. It's how we maximize performance, increase strength, and give you the
A second cluster of COVID-19 at the University of New Hampshire. This time, 20 positive cases linked to the Gables, a 5-building on-campus apartment complex which houses nearly 1,000 students. 10 of those cases remain active. School officials say any students who tested positive were required to isolate immediately for at least 10 days, and close contacts were notified and placed in quarantine for 14 days. This is the second cluster to be reported at UNH. At least 11 cases of COVID-19 were traced back to a party at the Theta Chi fraternity on August 29th. The school says more than 100 people were there without masks or social distancing. With this cluster at Gables, campus health officials are reminding students to continue to follow all safety protocols, including mask wearing and social distancing. In the past 7 days, the school reported a positivity rate of just about 0.1%, with 99.89% of the campus community testing negative. According to the school, in the past week, they have averaged over 3,400 tests per day. Reporting in Durham, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Dow futures dropped more than 200 points after Fed signals no rate hikes until 2023. Sorry about that. U.S. stock futures were lower early Thursday morning as traders designated the Federal Reserve's pledge to keep rates lower over the next few years until 2023. New reports slam Boeing and FAA for horrific mistakes over 737 MAX. Let's take a listen to that video from NBC News.
Aviation giant Boeing is under fire this morning after a new report on the 737 MAX blasts the company for a, quote, horrific culmination of engineering flaws and management issues that led to 2 fatal crashes. The report, part of an 18-month investigation by the House Transportation Committee, points to what it calls 5 broad problems. A rush to production amid a race to compete with a new Airbus model that led to cost-cutting and safety lapses, downplaying the plane's MCAS system, blamed for sending 2 planes into fatal nosedives, Boeing withholding key information about the aircraft from the FAA, company mismanagement giving oversight to employees unaware of certain decisions and procedures, and finally, the report blasts the FAA itself for siding with Boeing rather than listening to FAA experts. It comes after Lion Air Flight 610 from Indonesia and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 both crashed shortly after takeoff, killing everyone on board. That MCAS automated system is at the center of both crashes, which took place less than 5 months apart from each other. The 737 MAX has been grounded worldwide ever since, victims' families speaking out at the time.
My family died because of the greed, the arrogance, the hubris, the management dysfunction, the lack of internal oversight within Boeing and the FAA.
This morning, Boeing released a statement responding to the report, saying in part, "We have learned many hard lessons as a company from the accidents," adding, "It has made, quote, fundamental changes to our company as a result, and continue to look for ways to improve." The FAA, which, as we mentioned, also very much criticized in this report, has also issued a statement. Reading in part this morning, the FAA says that it has already implemented improvements identified in the report, and it is, quote, focused on advancing overall aviation safety by improving our organization, processes, and culture. The report coming as regulators are still working on getting the 737 MAX recertified. That is likely now to happen in the coming months, and the plane, in theory, could be reintroduced into airline arsenals, if you will, or their fleets sometime over the winter.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And thank you for joining us for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.